What if the Aztecs had not been conquered by Spain? If the Spanish invasion of Hernán Cortés had failed, a few more attempts would come. But as the Aztecs grew stronger and improved on their technology, Spain would eventually have no other option but to desist in their attempts and instead go south. The Aztecs would eventually learn to breed and use horses, and they would begin to expand their empire southward in an attempt to stop Spain by gaining control of Central America. After decades of war, both Spain and Tenochtitlan would encounter the Incas, and both empires would try to work their influence around them. The Aztecs would succeed and would gain this powerful ally. Both Native American nations would keep improving their military technology and would eventually develop fleets. Spain would then turn to the Portuguese for aid, and they would launch very powerful invasions which would also fail as the Native American empires would have grown too strong. Tenochtitlan would then begin to expand north until reaching Lakota territories, and they would obtain pretty much the same territory as our timelines knew Spain had. Tenochtitlan would keep its alliance with the Incas, helping them repel European invaders, and the Aztecs would then begin to expand their territories south to Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, and northern Brazil. They would become the most powerful empire in the continent as they controlled many trading posts and had the strongest military. The Aztecs would then launch a series of invasions to Cuba to try to repel the Spanish once and for all, but these would initially fail. However, with the help of the Incas, the Aztecs do repel the Portuguese from Brazil, and they divide the territory between the two empires. The Aztecs and the Incas prospered for about 100 years until the United States of America gained their independence. Several movements begin to appear in Tenochtitlan, wishing to turn the empire into a democracy, but they are not very successful at first. After 50 years, American influence starts taking over the northern territories of the Aztecs. An independence movement, funded by the Americans, goes on in Texas, but the Aztecs manage to repel it. Tenochtitlan fortifies its northern border and eventually signs a pact of no aggression with the Americans. Years later, a coalition is formed between the United States and Tenochtitlan to finally overthrow Spain from Cuba. It is tremendously successful, and Cuba is now divided between the American region and the Aztec region. Years of social instability follow for the Aztecs. Democracy movements start gaining power, and eventually democracy is adopted by Tenochtitlan in the late 19th century. Moving on to the early 20th century, a civil war occurs between states that want to keep human sacrifice and slavery as a legal practice, and those who want to abolish both. 10 years of civil unrest and bloodbaths follow, but eventually sacrifice and slavery are abolished, and a capitalist democracy begins. While Tenochtitlan recovers from its civil war, Europe is fighting the First World War. Years later, strong nationalistic movements begin to appear in Aztec lands, and eventually a fascist regime gains power. Tenochtitlan joins Japan, Italy, and Germany as part of the Axis powers and fights World War II. The United States manages to stay out of the Pacific Front, but instead struggles with a surprise offensive from the Aztecs. With the help of the Incas, who have also been attacked, they both manage to overpower Tenochtitlan. In Europe, the war goes very similar as it did in our timeline. Italy falls and the Soviet Union is about to overtake Germany. Defenseless, Tenochtitlan falls as well. In Asia, Japan continues to fight until the United States, Russia, the Incas, and the rest of the Allies aid China in a massive effort to finally neutralize the Japanese. War ends in 1947 with an Allied victory. Tenochtitlan signs a treaty that drastically reduces its territory, leaving almost every South American territory east of Colombia to the Incas and giving Texas to the Americans, as well as the northern parts of California, Nevada, and New Mexico. The fascist regime is overthrown and capitalism rules again. During the Cold War, Tenochtitlan becomes a first world nation, and it eventually aligns with the United States in the capitalist bloc. By the early 21st century, Tenochtitlan becomes an economic world superpower and starts distancing itself from the United States.